Hey everyone, hope you had a good week. I know it's been a busy week. Last week we learned about the secrets to seed germination, and I think for the most part things have gone pretty well. I'll show you in a minute the tomatoes, the chilies, the green peppers, the lemon balm. What else do we have? So yeah, the onions, the white onions, the red onions, they're all doing pretty well. I did make a mistake, and I didn't listen to my own advice. So what happened was with the tomatoes, when I came down, I got busy during the week, and when I came down 2 days later, the seeds had already germinated and they'd been under the dome for a bit too long. So they were a bit leggy when they first came out. And so, the key thing is that you take the lid off as soon as you start seeing the green sprouts. Um, and then take them off the heat mat and put them under a grow light. So I did do that, and they are recovering. Hopefully, you'll see that in a minute. And so all's not lost, as they say. So this week we're going to learn about lighting because that's the next stage. We're putting them under the grow light. But there are three keys to picking and adjusting the right kind of light. So that's what we'll learn about today. I hope you find it useful. So do leave comments, any thoughts, comments, feedback that you have, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you again at the end. All right. So take care. Talk to you soon. So let's go over to the shelf and see what's growing. This is the lemon balm. The lemon balm I've been very happy with. Yeah, so these are the marigolds. They're coming out quite nicely. These are the big green bell peppers. Not bad. And the diamond eggplants. Not bad either. These are the better boy tomatoes. They're doing okay, but there's a couple at the end there that need thinning out. Next to them here is the cayenne peppers. Only a few came out. I don't have a big plot, so it's okay. Just need a couple. And then there are the tomatoes there. Those came out quite well. Those are the sweetie tomatoes. Here's the jalapenos. They're looking really good. I'm quite happy with them, and there's quite a few there. Here are the onions. They're actually looking a little bit long. They need a bit of a haircut, so need to give them a trim. I'll do that straight after this.
There is nothing quite like the feeling of planting a tiny seed, waiting a few days, and finally catching that first glimpse of bright green poking through the soil. But if you are starting your garden indoors, that excitement often hits a wall. Within a few days, your little sprout might shoot upward into a tall, pale, and incredibly skinny stem. Most gardeners call this a leggy seedling, and it is the most common reason indoor gardens fail. It is easy to look at that rapid growth and think everything is going great. After all, a taller plant usually looks like a stronger, faster growing plant. In reality, that sprout is in trouble. It is starving for energy. When a seedling cannot find the light it needs, it spends every drop of its stored fuel to stretch upward, desperately searching for the sun until it becomes too top-heavy and collapses. To save our plants from stretching themselves to death, we have to understand what they are actually looking for. By fixing a few common indoor mistakes, we can build a setup that gives them exactly what they need to thrive. The first thing we have to realize is that our own eyes are a bit too good at their jobs. We can walk into a room with one ceiling light and think it is perfectly bright, but to a tiny plant on a table, that room feels like a dark cave. This happens because of a simple rule of physics. Light loses its power very quickly as it travels. As the beam moves away from the bulb, it spreads out over a larger area, which means the energy hitting any single leaf thins out significantly. To see how much this matters, look at what happens when you move the plant just twice as far away. The light now has to cover 4 times the space. That means your seedling is now getting only a quarter of the energy it was receiving just a few inches closer. This is a problem because seedlings are hungry for light. They need a massive total quota of light every single day to stay healthy. If they don't get that full daily dose, They start that emergency stretching to find more. To hit those targets, you need specific levels of brightness. If you use standard LED shop lights, you want a bulb rated for at least 5,000 lumens. If you use a specialty grow light, 2,000 to 3,000 lumens is usually the sweet spot. But the most important change you can make is distance. Because light fades so fast, you should move your lights off the ceiling and hang them just a few inches above the tops of your plants to ensure they get that full dose of energy. The second issue is about the color of the light itself. What we see as plain white light is actually a mixture of every color in the rainbow, and different colors tell your plant to grow in very different ways. For example, if a plant gets too much red light, it acts as a signal to grow tall. It tells the stem to elongate as quickly as possible, which is exactly what leads to those thin, weak sprouts. On the other hand, blue light acts as the brakes for that stretching. When a seedling senses plenty of blue light, it tells the plant to stay short, grow thick stems, and focus on building strong roots. Check the light bulb box for its Kelvin rating, which tells you the light's temperature. You want a rating between 5,000 and 6,500 Kelvin. Labeled as daylight bulbs, they provide the heavy concentration of blue light your seedlings need to grow sturdy. By choosing these cooler bulbs, you are giving your plants the biological instructions they need to build a strong foundation. It is the difference between a plant that reaches for the sky and a plant that stays grounded and tough. Finally, we have to consider the environment. It might seem like a good idea to leave your lights on 24 hours a day to give your seeds maximum energy, but that actually creates a lot of stress. Plants need a dark period to rest and process the energy they made during the day. They need a regular cycle of night and day to stay in sync with their own internal clocks. Temperature is also a major factor. Old-fashioned fluorescent or incandescent bulbs get quite hot. If you put those lights just a few inches away from your plants, where they need to be, the heat will quickly burn those tender new leaves. This is why modern LED lights are so helpful. They are extremely efficient, meaning they turn almost all their power into light instead of heat. This keeps the bulbs cool to the touch. Because LEDs stay cool, you can finally solve the distance problem. You can place the light source mere inches away from your seedlings, giving them maximum brightness without any risk of heat damage. Once you understand these basics, you can set up an indoor growing station that works every single time. First, choose a daylight bulb with a rating of 5,000 Kelvin or higher. This gives your plants the blue light they need for thick, strong stems. Second, use an LED fixture and hang it just 2 or 3 inches above the soil. This provides the intense light quantity needed to prevent stretching while keeping the leaves safe from heat. Finally, use a simple plug-in timer to make sure the lights turn off for several hours every night. This gives your seedlings the rest they need to process their growth. When you combine the right color, the right distance, and a regular schedule, you are giving your plants the perfect start. Instead of struggling sprouts, you will have seedlings that are strong and ready for the garden every time you plant.
Okay, everyone. Hope you found that interesting and learned something new. Next week, we'll be continuing the garden science series while we wait for the weather to warm up and before we can get out there and do some spring planting outdoors. Next week, we will be learning about feeding seedlings. So now that they've started to sprout, at what point do we start feeding them? So look forward to hearing from you then, and take care. Talk to you soon.